Los Angeles should not exist. It is a city of 4 million people built in a semi-arid desert basin that receives less than 15 inches of rain per year. It has no major river. It has no natural deep-water harbor. It sits on one of the most active earthquake fault systems on Earth. Every drop of water that keeps 4 million people alive is imported, pumped through aqueducts from the Sierra Nevada mountains, 233 miles away, from the Colorado River, 242 miles away, from Northern California, hundreds of miles away. The city exists entirely because of infrastructure. Take the infrastructure away, and Los Angeles has perhaps 72 hours of stored water before the taps run dry. A Spartan general who understands this one fact doesn't need 10,000 warriors to take Los Angeles. He needs a shovel. 10,000. Spartan warriors just crossed the Tehachapi Mountains from the north and descended into the San Fernando Valley. The general has his shovel, he also has his army, and he is about to enter the most strategically fragile city he has ever seen in his life. The Spartan column descends through the Newhall Pass, the natural gap in the mountains north of Los Angeles that the Interstate 5 freeway uses today. The same corridor that has funneled movement into the LA basin for centuries. At first light, 10,000 warriors, the same force that took Baltimore. But the geography they are entering is nothing like Baltimore. Baltimore is a compact port city defined by water on multiple sides. Los Angeles is the opposite. A vast, sprawling basin 80 kilometers wide, sitting between the San Gabriel Mountains, rising to over 3,000 meters to the north and east, and the Pacific Ocean to the west, with the Santa Monica Mountains bisecting the western portion, separating the coastal plain from the San Fernando Valley. The Spartan phalanx is designed for confined spaces, narrow passes, defined roads, terrain that forces an enemy into a predictable approach. Los Angeles has no confined spaces. It has 502 square miles of urban sprawl, 270 neighborhoods, and a freeway system with 1,000 kilometers of roads going in every direction simultaneously. The Spartan general, receiving his first scout reports of the terrain ahead, calls his senior officers together at the crest of the Newhall Pass. He looks out over the San Fernando Valley below, the flat suburban expanse of the valley stretching south as far as he can see. The downtown skyline visible 30 miles away, the Pacific Ocean a faint shimmer at the horizon. He is quiet for a long time. Then he says, "This is not a city, this is a territory." The California National Guard activates at 5:18 a.m. when sensors along the I-5 corridor detect the Spartan column moving south through the Newhall Pass. The 40th Infantry Division, the California Guard's primary combat formation, based at Joint Forces Training Base Los Alamitos, begins mobilizing. The Los Angeles Police Department activates its Emergency Operations Center. The mayor issues a shelter-in-place order for the entire city at 5:31 a.m. 4 million people in the city proper, 13 million in greater Los Angeles. The logistics of sheltering 13 million people are, practically speaking, impossible. But the military planners at Los Alamitos are not primarily thinking about the Spartan column moving south on the I-5. They are thinking about something else, because the first analyst to review the Spartan approach route notices immediately that the column passed within 2 miles of the Los Angeles Aqueduct intake at the Newhall Pass without stopping. Either the Spartans don't know about the aqueduct, or they do, and they have a reason for not stopping. The analyst writes in her first assessment, "Determine immediately whether the Spartan force has knowledge of LA water infrastructure." This is the most important intelligence question of the campaign. The Spartan vanguard reaches the San Fernando Valley floor at 7 a.m. and turns southeast toward downtown along the route of the 101 freeway, the Ventura Freeway, which cuts through the valley before climbing over the Santa Monica Mountains at the Cahuenga Pass into Hollywood. The California Guard has established a defensive line at the Cahuenga Pass, the narrow gap in the Santa Monica Mountains that is the most defensible terrain feature between the valley and the rest of the city. The Santa Monica Mountains run from downtown Los Angeles to the Pacific Ocean, dividing the Los Angeles basin from the San Fernando Valley, and the Cahuenga Pass is the most direct route through them. The Guard commander at Cahuenga has studied the Baltimore campaign. He knows about the flanking doctrine. He has positioned units on both ridgelines out above the pass to prevent the flanking maneuver that broke the I-695 line in Baltimore. The Spartan general, receiving his scout report of the Cahuenga Pass defense, looks at the terrain for 8 minutes. Then he does something the guard commander didn't plan for. He splits his force into 5 columns and sends them through 5 different passes simultaneously: Cahuenga, Sepulveda, Coldwater Canyon, Laurel Canyon, and Benedict Canyon. The guard has enough soldiers for 1 pass, not 5. The Spartan vanguard crests the Hollywood Hills through Cahuenga Pass at 9:15 a.m. and emerges onto Hollywood Boulevard. The general advances with the vanguard. He is on foot, as always. Spartan generals fight with their soldiers, not behind them. As the column moves east along Hollywood Boulevard toward downtown, the general looks up at the hillside to the north. The Hollywood sign, 9 white letters 45 feet tall on the slope of Mount Lee, is visible against the brown California hills. The general stops. He looks at it for 3 minutes. His interpreter, who has been translating for the campaign since Baltimore, later writes in his memoir that the general's expression in that moment was the most confused he had ever seen from any man in any language. The general finally asks his interpreter, "What does it say?" The interpreter tells him, "It is the name of this district." The general looks at the sign again. He says, "They put the name of a place on the hill above the place so you know where you are." The interpreter confirms this. The general nods slowly, as if this explains something he has been trying to understand about Los Angeles since he came over the mountains. He keeps marching. The 5 Spartan columns converge on downtown Los Angeles at 11 a.m. Downtown LA is unlike any urban core the Spartan army has encountered. Baltimore's downtown is compact and harbor-focused, but downtown LA is a cluster of glass skyscrapers rising out of a flat basin with no geographic anchor, no river, no harbor, no hill, surrounded on all sides by the flat grid of the city extending to the horizon. Los Angeles contains over 270 recognized neighborhoods ranging from dense high-rises of downtown and Koreatown to the suburban sprawl of the San Fernando Valley and beachfront communities. The Spartan general, standing at the base of the downtown skyscrapers, looks up at the glass towers and then looks out at the city extending in every direction. In Sparta, a city was defined by its walls. In every city this army has entered, the center was obvious: the harbor, the fort, the river crossing. Downtown Los Angeles has no walls. It has no obvious center. The general asks his scouts, "Where is the citadel?" The scouts report back, "There isn't one." The general asks, "Where is the water?" The scouts report back, "It comes from 233 miles away through underground pipes." The general is quiet for a long time. Then he says, "Find the pipes." The Spartan engineering officers return their assessment at 1 p.m. The Los Angeles water supply system is the most vulnerable strategic infrastructure any of them has ever examined. The Los Angeles Aqueduct, completed in 1913, carries water 233 miles from the Owens River in the eastern Sierra Nevada. 3 separate aqueduct systems feed the city: the LA Aqueduct from the north, the Colorado River Aqueduct from the east, the California Aqueduct from the north, all converging at reservoir systems in the hills above the city before being distributed through the urban grid. The engineering officer's assessment is blunt. If the 3 main aqueduct intake points are blocked simultaneously, Los Angeles has approximately 72 hours of reservoir storage before the distribution system begins failing. The general reads the assessment. Then he does something that surprises his officers. He orders them to leave the aqueducts alone. Not because he couldn't use the water as leverage, but because cutting the water supply of 13 million people, including children, hospitals, the elderly, is not a military act. It is something else. The Spartan Code has a word for indiscriminate harm to civilian populations. The word is not a military term, it is a moral one, and it applies here. The Spartan camp is established in Griffith Park, 4,310 acres of open land in the center of Los Angeles, the largest urban park in the United States, sitting on the south slope of the Santa Monica Mountains above Hollywood. It has everything the Spartan camp doctrine requires: elevated position, clear fields of observation, a water source in the LA River channel below, and enough open ground for 10,000 soldiers with room for a fortified perimeter. The engineering corps has the camp walls up by nightfall on day 1. On day 2, the general conducts his personal reconnaissance of the city, on foot with a small escort, moving through Hollywood, Koreatown, downtown, and back through Silver Lake. What he sees in those hours becomes the central strategic problem of the entire campaign. Los Angeles is not one city. It is 270 neighborhoods that happen to share a zip code. Each one has its own character, its own economy, its own internal logic. Koreatown is different from Hollywood, is different from Compton, is different from Beverly Hills. Not just socially, but structurally. There is no single pressure point, no single wall to breach, no single negotiating counterpart who speaks for all of it. The general returns to camp at sunset and says to his officers, "I have fought armies for 30 years. This is the first time I have been asked to fight a city that does not know it is one." The unexpected development of day 3 is not military. It is cultural, and it is specifically Los Angeles in a way nothing in Baltimore or any previous campaign could have been. By day 3, the Spartan camp in Griffith Park has become the most filmed location on Earth. Every studio, every streaming platform, every content creator in Los Angeles, the entertainment capital of the world, has been watching 10,000 warriors in red cloaks and bronze armor set up camp on the hill above Hollywood. 3 separate film studios have sent location scouts to the perimeter of the Spartan camp. 2 have submitted formal requests through the California governor's office to film inside the camp. 1 has sent a physical script, translated into Greek by a UCLA classics professor overnight, with a proposed deal for the general's life rights. The general, receiving the translated script through his interpreter, reads it in full. It is a 120-page action movie treatment. He reads all 120 pages. He puts it down. He says to his interpreter, "They want to tell stories about us." The interpreter says, "Yes, General. It is what they do here." The general thinks about this for a long time. Then he says, "Are the stories true?" The interpreter says, "Not usually." The general says, "Then no." The negotiation opens at the Getty Center, the art museum on the hill above Brentwood, whose white travertine buildings and elevated position overlooking the city the California governor's office selected because it is, visually and geographically, the closest thing Los Angeles has to a citadel. The general approves the location immediately. The California governor and the U.S. Secretary of Defense represent the American side. The general attends with 3 senior officers. The first session lasts 6 hours. The core issue is simple. The Spartans hold the center of the city. The city cannot function normally with 10,000 armed soldiers camped in Griffith Park. But the Spartans have not damaged infrastructure, have not harmed civilians, have not cut the water. They have, in the most technical sense, occupied Los Angeles without breaking anything. The governor's lead negotiator, a former federal judge, says privately after the first session that negotiating with a Spartan general is the strangest professional experience of her life. Not because he is unreasonable, but because he is entirely reasonable in a framework that has no category for what he wants. Because what he wants is not territory, not tribute, not acknowledgement. What he wants, it slowly becomes clear over 3 days of negotiation, is to understand something. On day 7, the general asks the question directly. He asks the governor, "Your city has no walls, no river, no natural harbor, no local water. It exists in a desert. It requires infrastructure that stretches hundreds of miles in every direction to survive. An earthquake could destroy that infrastructure tomorrow. You know all of this. Every person in this city knows all of this. Why do they stay?" The governor, a former mayor of Los Angeles who has spent 20 years thinking about exactly this question in the context of climate change, seismic risk, and water scarcity, takes a long time to answer. Then she says, "Because nowhere else feels like this." The general considers this for a full minute. Then he says, "That is not a strategic answer." The governor says, "No, it isn't." The general nods. He says, "I understand now. In Sparta, we stayed because the land was ours, and we had earned the right to defend it. Here they stay because the place itself is the reason. That is a different kind of courage. I did not expect to find it here." The withdrawal agreement is signed at the Getty Center on day 9. The terms are straightforward. The Spartans leave the city. The city returns to normal operations, no formal acknowledgement documents. The general asks for one thing. He wants to see the Pacific Ocean before he leaves. Not from the hills, from the water's edge, A convoy is arranged to Santa Monica Beach. The general and his officers walk to the water's edge at sunset. The Pacific Ocean stretches to the horizon, the largest body of water on Earth, something no Spartan in history has ever stood in front of. The general removes his helmet. He stands at the water's edge for 7 minutes without speaking. His officers stand behind him in silence. The Los Angeles the general is looking back at from the water's edge, the skyline visible in the distance, the freeway lights beginning to come on as evening falls, the city that should not exist and yet does, that has no walls and needs none, that builds its entire existence on the decision to stay in a desert because nowhere else feels like this, is not a city a Spartan can conquer, not because it is too strong, because it is too strange. And strangeness, the general has learned in 9 days in Los Angeles, is its own kind of armor. Every city in this series has taught the Spartans something Baltimore couldn't. Baltimore taught them that courage can be written down and set to music. Los Angeles taught them something harder, that a civilization can be built entirely on the decision to be somewhere, on the choice to stay in a place that has no strategic reason to exist, on the collective agreement of millions of people that this particular patch of desert between the mountains and the sea is worth more. All the earthquake risk, all the imported water, all the impossible traffic, all of it. Because nowhere else feels like this. The Spartans built their civilization on the idea that a soldier's worth is measured by what he is willing to endure. Los Angeles is a city of 4 million people who have decided that the endurance is worth it. The general who stood at the water's edge at Santa Monica and looked back at the skyline didn't conquer Los Angeles. He recognized it. Subscribe because part 3 is coming and the next city has walls.